It's been a fantastic day so far, and we've been as Phil was mentioning earlier, we don't want to just go with the hype cycle. I think we know AI is impactful, but I think we're struggling to make it real, right? So before we get, I have some tough questions for you, but before I go there, what does the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Genpact do?
Still discovering, 5 weeks in, but I think, writing the charter for what I will be doing, but I think definitely we'll try to get AI enabled into every business process. That's the charter. Right?
Fantastic. So look, I think when we look at AI maturity, I think there are three lenses, Sanjeev, that we've started to look at it. One is the idea maturity, and I think the idea maturity is very strong, and we've seen number of use cases across industries, across business functions. People believe in it. So it's not a flavor of the season. I think we've moved beyond that, hopefully. I think the question is journey maturity. And I think we saw that chart where only 5, in fact, that was the research that we did with you guys, where only 5% of enterprises are in, scaling it up, deploying it to drive real value. And it was a survey, so my sense is that the real number, everybody wants to look good in a survey, so the real number might be even lower. But why? Why are we struggling?
I think my take is that I think the numbers are not bad actually. 3 years back, this number was not even 30% of people who were thinking that they will adopt AI. I think it was less than 10% companies who thought they can adopt AI. So in the last 2 years, I think something has changed because of ChatGPT's immersion, that people think that there is an AI now. One of the good proof points will be that 2016, if you look at S&P 500, I'm just looking at just a gamut of companies, let's say. 2016, there were only 20 companies who quoted AI in their earnings call. In the 2020, I think it was around 80 companies or something. And last quarter is what 220 companies. So you can see the change. I mean, I think intentions are there, all puristic intentions. That's why you see that shift, that 70% companies are, as per the research, 20% companies are not thinking enough of AI, or they want to wait and watch as a followers. But 30% or around 30% started thinking in that direction. So I think it's a positive spin. I think my take is, I think we are totally underestimating the effort required to put AI into the fabric of enterprise. Totally underestimating, completely. So here's the point. 2004-05 was a massive year for, massive milestone for AI pivot, where AI was handed over from academia to commercialization. And people like Google and everything else start seeing AI, saying, okay, how do we use AI for generating commercial outcomes of AI? We have given them 20 years. They are called as digital native companies. And we're giving ourselves 2 years, who are actually laggards. And we are legacy companies. So I think it's going to take some time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I think I've heard many times people saying magic. There is no magic. So I think that's my perspective. My perspective is it's going to take time. It's a long journey ahead of us. We just need to start getting ready for that.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It does. And I think so we were having dinner yesterday, right, at that wonderful place, and you talked a lot about purpose, both in your personal life, etc. Is this thing to do with a little bit of purpose? Are we just running after productivity versus running after a purpose? Is that an issue in your mind? Basically, are we running after every quarter earnings call versus creating long-term value?
Yeah. I think the intentions of the companies who have started thinking in the last year and a half has been both actually. And I think it came out in the panel in the morning as well, that there's a need for short-term returns because you are being measured on returns as a company and enterprise. We're talking about enterprise, so I'm going to go back to this enterprise, not about the purpose as a whole, but a business enterprise purpose. Cost could be a purpose itself, but is cost the only purpose is a question to be asked. It could be cost plus purpose and anything else. But I do think that there is I do personally believe that for a business owner who's running a business, and with the evolution of AI in the last decade or last 3-4 years actually, and it's happening very fast. It's happening very, very fast. So with that evolution, I think productivity cannot be ignored. But if you're only looking at productivity, you're ignoring the big piece there, which could generate huge amount of innovation and growth. So I liked one thing from the last presentation. I mean, we talked about purpose of the whole, but just on enterprise perspective, I think I liked one statement called as AI is a tool. I think that's powerful. It's a powerful tool. The question is, do you know how to use it?
Yeah, so I think, so in the morning today we had breakfast with what we call the One Council. These are a group of enterprise leaders who we use as HFS as our own sounding board, and we were asking them, what's sort of holding you back? And as I looked around all these 20 fantastic senior executives, it boiled down to data, it boiled down to skills, it boiled down to technology, it boiled down to culture, right? That's not even an AI conversation. That's been with us for forever. You can't just keep borrowing money on your credit card. At some point of time, you've got to bloody pay your debts, right? How do we get outside this cycle?
And I think, as I said earlier, I think AI, so first of all, AI is not a platform, right? I just want to take out that myth out of that. AI is a very pervasive technology, alpha technology for sure, which means it is going to produce 4 times more returns than electricity has done for us. So think about the potential. That's why we're talking about trillions of dollars, and sometimes you don't even make a math of how big is that money.
It's just big.
Yeah, economic impact. But whatever it is, it's huge. It's like 5 times of what electricity did for us. So think from that angle, then it makes more relative sense. With that perspective, I think there are a lot of challenges which are there. So AI is not a platform, but AI, it has to be embedded in everything that we do. Now, just to make it simple for enterprise, you have infrastructure that you sit on. You have applications like SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, boom, 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 Workday, and everything else. And then you have system of engagements like your, all things, social media, mobile phones, everything else. All that, you want to use the AI everywhere. So whatever you touch is going to be AI-centric. So hence, it becomes much more complex subject, generally. And I think there's a need for understanding how to implement that over a period of time, and go after that. Data has been an issue. I think it will remain an issue. I think it's not going to go, that discussion will, my only point is, are you making data as a scapegoat for not moving forward, right? Because I see that many times, right? Skill is going to be extremely useful, extremely clear. So skill even at the CEO level and below is critical. So somebody, so Hitesh made a mention of middle management. That is going to be the most toughest one to rotate and pivot. People below will rotate fast, or they're coming rotated already. The top level leadership, hopefully, will start thinking, because intentions are clear, but I'm not so sure whether they're spending time properly on practicing AI. I think they're reading AI. Okay. And I think that's a difference. If you read AI, you're not going to go anywhere. So you need to kind of now start using AI, even at the C-suite level. And there are various ways of doing that, but I think they have to figure out and feel the power of AI themselves before they can tell their people below them saying, oh, I'm doing it, can you do it, start doing it, because that's a cultural shift people have to go through. But short answer, change is going to be super difficult, but it's real. Data is going to be a problem. We're just making it bigger to sound as a problem than it is. Right?
So data is an issue,
Absolutely.
But don't make it an excuse not to do anything.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the enterprises. What about service providers like yourselves? We've been in a people-centric services world ever since this whole industry started. Are you at Genpact or broadly?
Yep.
You see,
No, we can talk about Genpact actually, because I've done a lot of deep understanding about Genpact over the last 3-4 months. So yeah, I mean, I think service providers have to build their own use case first. They cannot go and consult a client without doing themselves. It's not going to work out, right? And I keep telling clients also that, one of the ways of talking to even product companies who are pushing a lot of technology to you and the service provider, you need to ask, have you done it? And show me the results, the business outcomes, not the technology usage. Show me business outcomes that you have done it. Then I'll start trusting you that we can do as well. So like in Genpact, the new CEO who took over from Tiger in December, BK Kalra, his first thing he did was he said, I want to make Genpact an AI company, which I loved. I mean, I loved the courage and the boldness to move into that direction. So they started a program much earlier than that, by the way. So they started a program around making Genpact AI company across 4 functions: legal, HR, IT, and finance. And they took a conscious call saying that, okay, which use case should go first? So in one of the use cases, which is IT help desk, again, seems similar, but few hundred people supporting a company of 130,000 people, so it's not a small number in terms of effort of work. But in 18 months, the help desk effort on AI, which includes inquiry, which includes AI suggesting recommendations without human, and which includes AI taking action without humans. That has given close to around 30% effort reduction. Now, if you have something like that, it takes time. One use case takes time, right? But if you have something like that, then you can actually go and tell, saying, okay, we can do it for you. This is how we can do it. That's how playbook is, and so on and so forth, right? So, did I answer your question? Well, I think that
it does, because you're saying you're going to be client zero.
Exactly. You have to use yourself as a client base, because this playbook doesn't exist. So this is definitely not a sales for implementation. If somebody is thinking that I'm not going to name any company, but if somebody is thinking that the cloud providers are going to tell you that go and use this item and it's going to just make you AI, or use an AI agentic workforce, I don't think it's going to happen, right? Because of change, because of everything else, and the data and everything, all the complexity behind this, it is definitely not as simple as Salesforce implementation. It is definitely not as simple as SAP. I think it's at least 10x difficult than SAP implementation. So if in the room people who have done SAP implementations and burned 10 years of their life doing that, just think about how difficult AI is going to be. And hence my point is, I mean, people are putting pressure on every CEO saying, show me the results. I think it's not easy. It's just not easy.
So you talked about 30% effort reduction, and we see a lot of narrative around AI being around productivity. Now, which I think is not bad, but is that singular focus around productivity a double-edged sword?
I think it should be both productivity and innovation. I think AI is the most innovative tool in the hands of business. But again, I'll say, in the hands of business. So the red flags are falling. If in a company you see in the management team, the technical people talking about AI, I think they're not going to go so far. Right. Other way of looking at the picture, like the half glass empty, half glass full. But I hope you understand. So I think it's going to be a very powerful tool. So productivity is just one piece. And the reason is because you were talking about short term versus long term also last night and today morning. So I think you need to do both. So dual velocity, play both the ways. Play on the productivity side, have use cases on productivity, but have use cases on innovation and growth as well. For example, we were talking in the last session about using AI for drug discovery and reducing the time to market, right? Customer engagement is such a big area, superlative. And by the way, use cases are much more advanced in customer engagement, and every company can use that effectively. It's an area which can really flourish with AI.
Yeah. The other big question is around people, people, skills, and again, on one hand, we are talking about amplifying human potential and sort of helping people, get rid of mundane, boring jobs. On the other hand, the reality is people are fearful of losing jobs.
Absolutely.
Right? You look at any big research, there is like 20% of our jobs will be impacted, this and that. How do you square these two narratives?
Involve people in the process. Involve them in the process, because they are your people. Every organization is a people company first. It's a people organization. Every company is a people company. You can't innovate without people. The only fabric you have for innovation is the people itself, because they know what you do for your clients and for your services and for your products, right? So the more you involve your people and let them be part of the journey itself, would transform your company to the next state. You may not need many people because of the productivity as well, but those are the same people who will reinvent themselves along with you in the journey to go forward, rather than you looking for external interventions for doing that. I personally believe that the change, again going back to the point, and change can only come when you involve your people. The later you involve people, the gradual the change is going to be. So if you are, I think you should involve people from the front step should be on the front to start initiating a change in the process of innovation in your system.
Yeah, so I think a whole lot of stuff is changing, and the way that enterprises even select service providers need to change, I guess. So what's your advice on, because when I used to do sourcing advisory 20 years back, I see the same spreadsheets being used just with more flashier colors now. It hasn't changed, right? How should enterprises be thinking of selecting their service providers, and how should service providers be thinking of, because even service providers often just say, these are the requirements, what is my best offering that sort of somewhat meets these requirements, right? It's an offering sell versus helping you problem solve, right? So how does that dynamic change?
I think
change.
Yeah, I think in this space, I'm specific to the artificial intelligence area, and you can look from a functional point of view as well, from a process point of view. I think it makes sense to go with the provider who's helping you understand the value of using technology versus just selling or building technology. It's going to be better if they can. Second thing is if they can show you real stuff, not somebody with no PowerPoints, just show the stuff, like show the real stuff on the floor, how it's happening. I think that will give confidence that it's achievable, because you will see a proof point in making or in building or in being deployed, rather than just seeing on a paper, and commitment and potential. So move from potential to reality, And the third thing would be, I think commercially, companies can come with very interesting models in the future, which is more gain sharing, and which will put a little bit pressure on the service providers to do things differently, right?
Yeah.
So they don't take their customers granted by saying that, okay, I'm going to sell FTs, I'm going to sell bodies, I'm going to get money out of it, or I'm going to do consulting, but they will have to sign a check only when something gets delivered finally. Right? So.
Yeah, I think that point around gain sharing is interesting, because it's also, gain sharing sounds very sexy on day 0, but on day 5, both parties I've seen fight with each other, because who brought those gains?
Yeah.
Is it me as a client because I did blah blah blah, or is it you as a service provider? Yeah. So we've not made gain sharing simple enough to consume. It's very, very complicated. What is that commercial model that's simple to understand, easy to consume?
I think it could be, I think there are multiple models. People are very creative. People are creative in commercial constructs as well. But one of the models could be upfront decision-making process of investment and also generating outcomes together. So co-creation.
Co-creation.
Maybe that's a model, right? So it actually brings both parties together, rather than putting the buck on your side, saying, unless you do it, we will not give, or basically this was our idea, so how can you take the gain? Vis-a-vis doing a co-sharing model. And as I said earlier, that this area would require more time to think and the approach versus just execution. So one of the sayings from a wise man, Einstein, was that if I would have 1 hour to solve a problem, because these are problems, by the way, if I had 1 hour to solve the problem, I'll spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solution. I think this applies clearly in this space versus SAP implementation.
That's a good way to think about it. Hey, we've got 1 minute left. Any questions for Sanjeev? Anything that I've not asked him that I should? If not, I'm an analyst, I can go on. Yeah, so one more question, Sanjeev, is we are seeing this blurring of boundaries. In the old days, you had BPO providers, then you had IT providers, then you had the big 4 or consulting providers. Now you don't know who starts where and who stops where, right? Every BPO provider is building technology capabilities. Every tech provider has BPO capabilities. Consulting companies are building managed services. All of you guys are building consulting capabilities. So is this all a big sort of mishmash of capabilities? How should enterprises think of the service provider landscape?
I think it depends on strategy for a particular company as to how they want to go after, right? In terms of forward integration, backward integration, because it's basically that's what is happening, right, in the field. And tech is playing a very vital role in the entire thing, because tech is enabling everybody to see things differently and propose a different solution or services to their clients and customer base. I think I can talk a little bit on Genpact, because I've been super involved in that discussion. But we have very clearly we are working on making sure that we have picked up a focus areas where we are very strong, and we really truly want to bring the best of data and technology and AI into that process, because there is no way you can turn around a process without AI anymore, right? And data is a fundamental part of AI. So that's the way it's been seen. So at the end of the day, the whole idea would be to truly innovate the business process for generating final outcome, and technology being an enabler for doing it effectively. Yeah. That's the way we are perceiving it.
No, that's fantastic. So Sanjeev, thanks a lot for spending time with us.
Thank you so much.
This was great. Best of luck. After hopefully the next 5 years are as exciting as the first 5 weeks.
Yes, it should be. Thank you very much. Thank you.